Hi everyone, welcome to JavaTechie. In this tutorial, we'll demonstrate how to implement refresh token mechanism in a Spring Boot application which is secured with JWT. Okay, alright. Before I continue further, I'm assuming that you guys have complete understanding about how to implement security using JSON Web Token or JWT. If not, then I would strongly suggest you to check out my Spring Security with JWT video, which I already uploaded Spring Boot 3.0, Spring Security 6, JWT authentication and authorization. I'll share this link for your reference. Take a look, then come back to this current course. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to understand. Okay, cool. So let's start understanding why we need refresh token or what is the importance of using this refresh token mechanism. So to make this simple, let me walk you through the flow of JWT security. You can see here we have two components, the client, which is the user who is accessing the application, and the server is the application itself where we have implemented JWT security. So first step, client needs to send one-time credential to log in into the system. Once server authenticate the credential, it will generate the JWT token and send it back to the client again. Now going forward, client or user can use the same token for any future interaction. This is the typical JWT security workflow, right? What is the problem here? Generally, in an enterprise application, ensuring that the security of the application is preserved, there is an expiration time set for the generated token, after which the access token is not in any of the use. So assume we have set the token expire limit as a 10 minute, and let's say the user is trying to access the same token after 1 hour, which is already expired. Then definitely he will end up with 403 forbidden error. Now what user will do? He will follow the above three steps to get the new access token, which is really annoying for user, isn't it? Because we can't force to re-authenticate every time when their access token expires. This will give a bad impression to the end user, and also there could be a possibility that people will be stop using my application itself. Then how can we overcome it? That is why this refresh token mechanism was introduced, which will help to improve the security and user experience of our application. In short, you can say it will simply extend the expire limit of your token. So whatever the token you will get initially, it will just extend the expiration limit of that particular token. So what basically we need to do, we'll write an API in server application where it will take old token as a input or old token ID as a input, and it will return a new one with extending the token expire limit. Okay, so going forward, user can pass the same token to access all the API. Now when the token expires, then the user can happily call the refresh token API to renew it rather than re-authenticate again and again. I hope this gives you a clear picture about why we need a refresh token mechanism. Okay, so without any further delay, let's quickly demonstrate this particular scenario in action. So let's get started. So before we implement the refresh token mechanism, first let's verify the JWT security flow. We are basically going to perform step 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's go to the IntelliJ IDEA. We are going to use the same code which I already explained as part of my Spring Security JWT video. You can find the source code link in video description. Okay, now what basically I'm going to do, I will just start the application. You can see here it started on port 8080. Now just go to the postman, and basically we need to add a user to the DB. Then based on that username and password, we need to log in to get the JWT token. Then using that token, we are going to access the other API. Okay, these are the three steps we are going to perform. That is the default security flow in JWT. So just go to the postman. This is the user I'm going to add. Okay. Now the endpoint you can see here, sign up, click on send, user added to the DV. If you'll go and check in your DV, if I'll refresh this, you can find the user here. Okay, that's fine. Now by taking this username and password, I need to authenticate or I need to log in to get the JWT token. So simply let me hit this endpoint. I got the JWT token. Now using this particular token, I can able to access the endpoint. So first let me remove the token. I'm not giving any token and I'm sending the request. I'm getting 403, which is forbidden error. You are not authorized to access this particular endpoint without any token. Now let's give the token, send the request. We are able to see all the response. Okay, but if you'll verify this token, go to the jwt.io and paste your token. If you'll see, the expired time will be 15:53. Okay, it's just for 3 minutes. If you check in the code, we have just specified the token will be expired after 3 minutes when it release or when it created. Okay, so now what we can do, we'll pause for 1 or 2 minutes and we'll try to access the same endpoint to get all the product and then we'll verify the behavior. Okay, now the current timestamp is 3:54 and it already expired on 3:53. Okay, so let's try accessing the same API to get all the products using the same token which is already expired. Okay, now send the request. What we are getting, 403 forbidden. If you will see in our console, there is a error. Let me zoom this for you. JWT expired at this time, current time is this, a difference of this time millisecond, allowed clock 0 millisecond. Okay, so JWT itself is telling us, hey, the token which you are trying, it's already expired. Now what you can do, very simple step, right? We can simply go to the login and we'll regenerate the token and we can copy the token, go to the API, change the token expiration or change the barrier token here, which will having some extent of your expiration limit. Send the request, you are getting the response. Now if you will verify this new token, it will be expired on 3:58. Okay, so again, if user will try to access the same token after some time interval or after it expired, then again he need to go with the step 1, 2 and 3. To overcome that, we must need to implement the refresh token rather than forcing user to re-authenticate again and again. We can tell them, hey, you can simply call the API to extend your token or you will get a refresh token ID. By taking that ID, you can get a new token and going forward you can use it. Okay, that is what something the refresh token we want to implement. So we understand what is the drawback without refresh token. Now we understand what is the importance of this refresh token. So now to generate a refresh token and to compare it with the old token, we must need to store it somewhere, right? So we can store it in our DV, then we can compare it with the old one and we can validate the expired time. If required, we can return a refresh token. So for that, we must need to create a new entity to store the old token ID or token with the expired time. So go to the entity, I'll simply create a class. Now here you can define couple of field like ID, token and expired date. So let me define them. So once you define these three fields, also you need to map this particular token to a specific user. Okay. So if you remember, if you will go to the entity, we have defined the user info as an entity, right? So you must need to map that specific token to the user object so that you can easily identify this token is belongs to which user. So how we can do that? Just add this user info and you must need to map them using one to one, and you need to define join column, and next you just need to simply define the name of your field and then who is the reference column. The reference column will be your user ID. Okay, so this particular token must need to map to a user so that we can easily identify it. Now we must need to define the annotation. This will be my ID and I want it to be auto generated. Define the strategy identity. That's it. You need to define this at the rate entity, and you can also define the data. Next, simply since you created the entity, you must need to create the repository, right? Go to the repository, refresh token repository. Now this is the interface. You must need to extend it from JPA repo. Define the target, which is your refresh token, and define the data type of your primary key, which is integer. All good. We have created the entity, we have created the repository. Now the next step, if you understand it correctly, we need to write a API to create a refresh token. So for that, what I will do, I will simply create a service class. Next, just annotate this at the red service and inject the repository here. Inject using auto add. Similarly, you must need to inject the user repository to get the user information. Fine. Now let's create a method public who will create a refresh token and return it to me. This refresh token method will take the input as a username, because while giving the JWT token itself, I must need to give the refresh token. Okay, so that going forward, if token will be expired, by passing this token value, he can get a new access token. So that is the reason I must need to pass the username. Based on this username, I will get the user info from the repo. Next, just build the refresh token object. User info, you will get the user info from this user info repo, right? That is the reason we have injected it. Dot find by username and pass the username. It will get the user object for you. Next, what is the field we have? Expired date and token. Token will be nothing. You can set something new UUID value. So let me set that UUID, which will be some random string. Okay, dot random UUID dot toString. Next will be the expiration time, right? Expired date. You can use instant dot now then plus millisecond like this. And I am trying to set it for 10 minutes. So that is the reason I have given 6 lakh millisecond. Okay. Next, simply build the object. This particular object we want to save to our DB. Why this is crying? Okay. This expect the optional, so we need to do the get call. Now get the reference. Simply use the refresh token repository, call the save method and give this particular object. Okay, so we have written the method to create the refresh token by taking the username. Now if you observe, when we did the login, right, we got the JWT token. Now what we want to do now, once user will try to log in along with the JWT access token, we also want to give the token value, which is nothing the new random UID string which we are storing into the DB. So we also need to do that changes here. Okay, So for that, from where I can do the changes, I have created the method. Just copy the method, and if you go to the controller, this is the place where we are just generating the token and return it back to the response. So while returning the JWT token, we also need to send the token, refresh token. Okay. So what I can do, simply I can call the method from here. So first I need to inject the service here. Inject using auto add. Next we can use this service. Go to the method here. Here we can call the refresh token service dot create refresh token. We can pass the username from auth request dot get username. Okay. Simply get the value. So assign it to the variable. Now it's straightforward, right? We have the refresh token value with us. We have the JWT access token value with us. We just want to combine both of them and we want to return it. So rather than return the string, what I'll do, I will create a JWT response DTO class. Here I will define two fields. Okay. So access token is nothing your JWT token. This refresh token, or you can name it token. Okay. This token is just a EUID. Based on this EUID, you can ask to the JWT to give a refresh token. So for that, we are going to write an separate API. Okay. So define all the Lombok specific annotation. Fine. Then use this specific class as a return type instead of string. Now what we want to return here? Just write JWT response dot builder. I want to set the access token, which is nothing your this line of code which is already there. Okay. Access token is nothing your JWT token, the real one, first which one is generated. Then next you need to set the token. Token is nothing the unique ID of your refresh token. How you can get that value? Let me remove this piece of code. This you can get it from this object refresh token dot get token value. Okay. Now you just need to build it. That's it. We want to return it. Fine. Now we'll verify it quickly how the response will looks like now after adding the refresh token as part of the response. Quickly restart it. Okay, before I restart, I need to delete the DV because we have mapped the mapping between two entity. So let me stop it. Now let me restart it. So you can see here it started on 8080. Go to the postman. First again, since we deleted the DV, we need to add a new user. Let me add the same user. User added to the system. Go to the login. I'll give the same username and password. Send the request. Can you see here? We are getting the access token. That is what the JWT token. By giving this token, you can access any endpoint. Let me show you that. That is what the default behavior, right? We are getting the response. Then what is this other field? This is the token ID. If your token will be this access token will be expired, you need to call the refresh token API by giving this specific ID. Okay, you keep a reference of it, or else if you'll go and check your DV, let me refresh it. There will be two table, right? Let me create a new SQL. I'll check this. We have this user, and if you'll verify the refresh token, we have this token ID same, and this specific token mapped to the user ID1. User ID1 is going to this guy Basant. Okay, that is the reason we have mapped the user ID to the token. Now going forward, you must need to pass the valid token to refresh it. Okay, I'll show you that by writing a separate endpoint. So let's go to the IntelliJ and we'll write the separate endpoint here. I'll write a method public will again return the anything you can return. Let me return the response entity, or you can return the JWT response itself. Okay, refresh token is a method name, and this should be the post mapping. I'll define the URL as refresh token. Okay, and what it will take as a input, it will take as a input this token, which is a string. How can I pass this particular field? I cannot pass as part of the header, which will be security breach for me, or I cannot pass it as part of the URL. Correct? I must need to pass this specific field as part of the request body. So for that, what I can do, I'll create a separate DTO class. I'll name it refresh token. Now I will just define the field here. Again, you can define all the Lombok specific annotation. Okay, go to the controller class, pass the value, I mean the request, and this must need to be annotated at the rate request body because we are giving the object. Fine. Now we have the token. This particular request contains the token field. Now by extracting the token, first I need to verify whether the token what I am giving is correct or not, or the token which I am giving is there in my DB or not. So for that, what I can do, in my refresh token service, I'll write the logic to verify in the DB. By taking this token ID, are you able to get the token object from the DB or not? So that is a simple get call from the DB, right? So I'll write a method here, private get the optional of refresh token. Next, what you can do, you can write the method name find by token or something like that. Pass the token here. Simply call the return. You have the repo with you, right? Refresh token repository dot find by, and check the field what you have defined in your entity is token, right? So you can define the method name like this. Find by is the prefix, and based on which field you want to search, pass it and give the token value. Now it will force you to create the method in your repo. Create this method. That's it. Okay. Now also you need to write a logic to verify the expiration limit of the token is valid or not. Okay. So for that, what you can do, you can write another method. So make sure this should be public, not private, because we are going to call this method from our controller class. Okay, write another method to verify the expiration of the token public. Okay, which will again return the refresh token after verify. It will take the object itself, refresh token. Very simple. Okay, now how you can verify that? Very simple. Just get the token from the request token dot get its expired date. If the token dot get expired date, compare this value with instant now, okay, with the current time. If it is greater than less than 0, then this token is already expired, no use of it. Simply what you can do, you can throw the exception, throw new runtime exception token, this particular token was expired, please make a new sign in request. And also, since this token is already expired, no use of keeping this information, right? So what you can do, simply we can delete it from DB as well. Refresh token repository dot delete the refresh token. Okay, pass the token object. Otherwise, simply return the token. If all good, there is no error, return the token which is valid. Fine. We have written two methods to get the token from DB, to verify whether really it is exist in our DB or not, and we have written another method to verify the expiration limit of that token. That's it. Now simply call these two methods from our endpoint. So here I'll just use refresh token service, find the token first, give the input refresh token request dot get token, okay, which will return the optional. Now just check the expire limit of that token. So simply I can call the like method reference, okay, verify expiration. Once it is verified, then again just get the user details from the refresh token object dot user. Very simple. So you can call refresh token. Where is the user? Yeah, this guy. Now you have user information with you. Simply you can play with this particular user object to regenerate the token. Okay, you can call JWT service dot generate token, and you have the refresh token value with you. Okay, I mean the ID with you. Just map it. So rather than return the response entity, I will just return the JWT response so that we can build it. Dot builder. Okay, set the access token which we just generate through the JWT service generate token, and next you need to set the what is the other field token, right? This is very interesting. If I'll run and I'll show you the behavior or the response of this endpoint, you might get the complete picture. So here simply we are just getting the token. Okay, once you are getting the token, this is the method reference signature. We are just calling the verify expiration method to validate the token expiration. Then since we have the refresh token object with us, we are getting the user info. From the user info, we are extracting the name by passing it to the JWT service to generate the access token. Now we have the access token and we have the refresh token. We are returning it back. Okay, or else I want to throw the error. Which error? Any custom error you can provide. But for now, I will throw the runtime exception. So we need to build it while returning it. If you are not getting anything, simply throw the exception that the token which we are trying is not there in our DB. User might be trying with the wrong token ID. Okay, that's it. Now we will not force user to authenticate for this particular endpoint. So you need to bypass this as well. The way we have bypassed for login and sign up, similarly you need to bypass all the requests coming with this URL to not authenticate. Okay, copy this endpoint, go to the config class. Let me zoom this. Very simple. What you can do, just define your endpoint. We are telling to Spring Security, if request is coming with slash product slash refresh token, then don't authenticate that. Simply bypass it so that I can give that flexi to the user. He will regenerate the token, okay, without re-authenticate. So let's verify it quickly. Before we run our application, for quick testing, what I will do, I will go and change the initial expire time of our token. Okay, otherwise again we need to wait for 3 minutes for the what is that, to generate the refresh token. Okay, I'll make it 2. Okay, rerun it. So it started. Go to the postman. We no need to add a user again because already this user is present in our DB. Now just run this. We are getting a new access token and we are getting a new token ID. So first let me verify the time, expire time for this specific token. Paste here. It will be expire in 55, I mean after 1 minute. Okay, near to 2 minute, because 55 colon 56. So meanwhile, what I'll do, I will just pass this particular token to access the endpoint. You're getting the result. Still, we need to wait for a couple of seconds to expire the token. Meanwhile, I will show you in the DV as well. So the second token is that this was generated and assigned to the user. That is how we did the entity mapping. So let's verify whether it exceeds the limit or not. No. Let's wait for a second to expire this token. Then I will show you the error and we will try to regenerate the token. Okay, I'll try in sharp 56. So it exceeds the time. Let me hit the endpoint. We're getting 403. If you'll check in the console, what it says, JWT expired at this and current time is this and difference is this. Okay, it means it is not valid now. Now I don't want to re-authenticate again and again since I have implemented the refresh token mechanism. Then how I can do that? I'll simply go to the this particular API call and I will take the token value. Okay, now what I can do next, simply let me create a new request which will be of type post http/products. Okay, refresh token, this is what the endpoint we have defined, right? Then go to the body, go to the raw, it should be JSON. Here we need to pass the input as a token because this is the post method. Give this token, what it will do, it will refresh the token. It will give you a fresh token with the fresh token by extending the expire limit of it. Let's verify it. Send the request. We are getting a new token here with the new token ID. Now simply you can use this token to access the API. Go here and try accessing using this particular new token. We are able to see the response. Here we are not forcing user to re-authenticate. We simply provide a new API which is refresh token API, give the token ID and get a new token. Okay, and also we said the when the refresh token will be expired. Okay, that time also we have set in our code. Go to the refresh token service. You no need to hard code this as part of your code. Rather you can give use some external config file. Okay, so this is not a good practice. You can keep it external from your application. Okay, and this is how you can allow user to regenerate the token again and again rather than re-authenticate. Okay, do let me know in a comment section if you guys have any doubts. That's all about this particular video, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Meet you soon with a new concept.